All right, guys, the Gedunk is back, and we're talking another week of Big Brother.
That's right, everybody. Week 2 down and another elimination. Is my man Frenchie going to stay clear of the chopping block, or is his head going to be locked into it? Well, stick around, because we're about to find out.
All right, guys, we're back, and today we're out without superfan Ashley. She
couldn't make it today.
She couldn't make it. She's got a little sick, so she's out on this one. All right, Billy, another week of Big Brother. So it starts off with they're trying to figure out who the two people are that voted the other person.
Yeah, like right off the bat, and I think there was almost too much focus on that, right? Like everybody was all, especially Christian. What I want to know is who those two people were who didn't vote unanimously with everybody else. And
like what decision? What difference does it make?
Right, exactly. I mean, bottom line is, Travis got smoked. So who cares who those two people were? I don't know why they're focusing on it so bad. Why it was such a big deal. But again, this is my first time to watch Big Brother, so.
I think everyone's just looking for any kind of reason to throw someone else under the bus at this point. So they're like, who are these two people? Let's find them, and then let's nominate them. And
that makes sense to me. And I guess the thing that killed me about this last couple episodes too was this was really Frenchie's chance to kind of lay low and go under the radar and kind of say, all right, my week's done. I'm just going to kind of lay low here. But instead, then the guy goes nuts, right? The guy starts accusing people of turning on him.
Nuclear.
Yeah, he goes nuclear, starts accusing everybody of turning on him. He's like walking in front of groups of people, calling people out. I'm out of this. I'm done with the slaughterhouse. And just, makes everybody tension, man. Like, ton of tension in the house.
He goes up to the group and for some reason kind of points in Whitney's direction and it's like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah,
and she took like great offense to that.
Oh yeah, because she thought he was specifically calling her out on something.
Which I don't think he was.
No, I don't either. But he still shouldn't have done it, right? Because at that point, obviously she's involved in something he's involved in when he's pointing at her, saying I'm out, right? So either way, it's kind of making the limelight on her in that room of people. And it wasn't just that one. Then he was walking around the whole house, like everybody was in the slaughterhouse. He was walking around finding them, saying I'm out, I'm out.
He tried that old ruse he did last week with Brent and said like, I know you guys are talking about me. You think I'm dumb. And Brent's like, what is this guy's problem?
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, he did that so much this last several episodes that people finally got fed up. They're like, dude, this guy's crazy. He's making too much tension, too much drama in the house, and we don't need that in the house. We got to get rid of that crap. And he totally... he deserved to be on the chopping block, and he freaking threw himself on it. He just like dove on top of it. That dude just went running and diving on the chopping block because he was so dramatic, so like you said, nuclear, and it was nuts, man. I was like, why is he acting? And I didn't understand why he was acting that way. This would have been his perfect opportunity to kind of lay low, to make some friends, right? Okay, week 1's done. He had his chances, had a household. Now kind of lay low and just be nice to people. But nah, man, he went nuts, and that just really screwed him.
Now he did approach Kylan and tried to get a feel for what his thought process was, and what we learned from that is Kylan's a pretty bad liar.
Oh, horrible
and that was
liar.
an interesting conversation because he was asking Kylan some questions. He's like, I'm not going to answer any questions.
Yeah.
I'm the HOH. I don't need to answer anything.
Right, and Hyland's one of those guys where, maybe he's actually a really good dude in real life and doesn't lie a lot. So when he's lying, he's like looking around,
it's very
he won't make eye contact. So yeah, this guy's totally lying, and he's totally uncomfortable in the conversation, right? You can tell when he's super uncomfortable in the conversation. And and that's gonna, I think, come back to bite him in the butt later on in the show.
And Frenchie does the Frenchie thing where he's like, "I can promise you protection," which is like, how can you promise anyone protection? Right. You're the one who needs protecting.
Right. Everybody hates you right now. Your ass is gonna be your butt. Excuse me, is gonna be on a chopping block, and you can't protect anybody. You can't even protect yourself right now. So that ship has sailed for him a long time ago.
He made some kind of weird comment to Kylan too, where he's like, if someone comes after me and nominates me, I'm going to go right after him. I'm like, well, Kylan did nominate you. The guy you're talking to is the one who nominated you.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm like, he was just off.
In the couple chances he had to do something to save himself, he lost. He had 2 opportunities this time around to save himself, right? They first had the wild card event, right? And it was paint, right? So you had to guess which color, so they showed a bunch of different paint colors. So, first of all, it was Frenchie, Sarah Beth, and your man, Champagne.
Brent, yeah.
Brent, they were involved in it, right? So they're each in a little room, and, they're showed a different set of colors, a different picture, and then they would be asked a question about that picture, and if you got the question right first, then you got doused with paint, right?
You know what annoyed me about this is during the competition they would show interviews, and
Frenchie's
these interviews are clearly afterwards. I looked at Frenchie's hat, and he had one color on his hat, which I knew he didn't win this because he only had one color, and sure enough, only one color like splattered on it.
Dude, I totally noticed the exact same thing. As soon as I saw his hat and saw the pink,
I told Ashley, I was like,
Frenchie
his
didn't
hat
win.
is only like red or something. I can't remember.
Pink.
Maybe it was yellow.
Pink.
Yeah,
it was pink.
And I was like, so he clearly didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, they totally should have had him take his hat off for that interview because right there, that was a dead giveaway that Frenchie did not win this event. And I knew it right then as well. So yeah, it's cool he picked up on that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably did. But so Frenchie lost that opportunity, right? So that's one opportunity he had to save himself, and he lost it. Sarah Beth won that round, right? And then, go ahead, tell everybody what the prize was for that.
Well, Sarah Beth she had the option of switching teams, but she would have to give up safety for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. And she played it smart in that she didn't need the swap because she knew people were already gunning for Frenchie. And if she made that swap, then that was bound to irritate some people.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's going to put a bullet on her head. But right now, nobody's even looking at her at all. Like, everybody thinks, oh, sweet Sarah Beth, so nice and innocent. We ain't got to worry about her. So she absolutely made the right decision right there because she had nothing to worry about to begin with. And it showed loyalty, right? It showed loyalty to her team. It shows she's somebody that can be trusted and not turn her back on people just because they might be in a tight spot. And so I think that worked out big time in her interest.
You guys get on my last nerves, but I love you and I'm staying with this team till the end.
Right?
Yeah, I think that was really smart of her to do.
Oh, yeah. So then it's showing us what's going on in the house, and of course everybody, so Kylan's going around talking to people like, who should I put on the chopping block? Of course, everybody's saying Frenchie, right? Frenchie's causing too much drama. Get rid of Frenchie. But then the big person
and he talks to everybody about this.
Now, but the biggest,
only one person didn't say something.
Right, but the biggest proponent of this was Tiffany, right?
Oh, yeah,
Tiffany was all about getting rid of Frenchie.
She was kind of working with him a little bit, where Frenchie asked her to vote the other way.
Right, and she did in the first one.
She went with it, and then she was kind of seeing if he would betray her, which he
did
doesn't
not
do.
Right, he didn't betray her, yet she was still like, let's get Frenchie out of here. So, it's Tiffany's doing a lot of backstabbing now. She's being very sly, man. At that part where her and Aja were talking together, and they're acting like they're crying, or Tiffany's acting like she's crying every time somebody walks in the room.
Yeah.
Yep, and then as soon as they'd walk out of the room, she'd lift back up and they'd laugh, and then they keep talking their conversation, right? And then Aja's on his team, on Frenchie's team.
And that's very dangerous because she's putting a lot of trust in Aja.
Yeah, who is on Frenchie's team.
She could out her for that, and people are bound not to be happy about her using her kid for that.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, she's talking trash about Frenchie to Aja, like, hey, we need to vote Frenchie out. And then Aja is kind of like, I
have a feeling Tiffany's going to be the next drama eventually.
I think so too. I think Tiffany's not doing herself any good by backstabbing the way she is so early, because she's going to end up it's going to bite her in the butt. I think sometime in the near future we're going to see Tiffany. If she's not going to be on the chopping block in the near future, people are definitely going to start looking at her, right?
So then Kylan starts going around and asking everyone, is there anyone that stands out to you? Yep. And everyone's throwing Frenchie under the bus except one person.
Yep.
Brittany doesn't. She's like, no, not really. Everything's pretty copacetic. And he's like,
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's she mentions a couple of showmances, right? Well, I think Brent and Whitney got kind of a showmance going on, and then of course you got Christian and Alyssa, and that's all she mentions. And so then of course Kylan's like throws her on a chopping block, right?
He zeroes in on that, and it's like, you're all about your team and your team lead, which is Frenchie.
Yeah, which the funny thing is, because Kylan the funniest part about that is, and the biggest hypocritical part about that is, Kylan in one of the episodes mentions, hey, I'm all about, being part of a team and having your team's back, right? So then, Brittany's doing that, and then Kylan puts her on a chopping block because of it. Well, you were the only person that didn't mention Frenchie, so that's why I'm putting you on the block. It's like, what?
It was kind of weird.
Oh, yeah, it's like, all right, hypocrite. Considering you just said you're all about people that are being loyal to their team, so.
And Kylan also brings another team in and tries to forge a relationship there, and he's got Whitney and Brent, and he's kind of like, I think he's asking them to guarantee safety for 2 weeks or something ridiculous like that.
Right, yeah. He's trying to get people to guarantee him safety, and then they're like, yeah.
They're like, we'll see.
Right, and who was like? But only one person there guaranteed him safety. There were 3 people talking to him. Who was it? Who was the person?
Derek really spoke up.
Yeah. Derek did. That's right. Derek said, "Yeah, man, I got your back." And then Derek pulled Kylan back after, he's like, "Hey, man, did you notice that they didn't have your back?" Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I noticed it." Right, so
and then he brought another team in, and then they kind of forged that relationship.
Oh yeah, Yeah, there was a lot of that going on in this episode, and Frenchie just handled himself. I mean, if week one wasn't bad enough, the way he handled himself, week two was even way worse. And he just, I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You knew by the second episode that Frenchie was going on that chopping block, and and there was nothing that was going to save him. Nothing.
Yeah, so they nominate Frenchie and Brittany. They're both on the same team. I thought that was a pretty smart move. I didn't really like the reason why he zeroed in on Brittany, but I thought it was smart to put two people from the same team.
And that's the thing. A lot of people aren't looking at the team aspect, and they need to be. Because if you want to narrow it down, man, it's the best thing you can do is put two people from the same team on, because hopefully that means you're going to eliminate one person from a rival team, and then you're just going to slowly start dwindling those teams down. But nobody else has been thinking that way, and I don't necessarily think Kylan thought that way. He just narrowed in on Brittany because his reasoning was, oh, you didn't mention Frenchie.
And before that, Frenchie started outing the slaughterhouse to people who weren't a part of the slaughterhouse.
All of them except a couple. Like, he never outed Big D, right? Big D was his boy.
Big D was kind of like sleeping on the or pretending to sleep on the couch and waiting to hear if his name was mentioned as Frenchie was outing people.
Yeah. And
he kept him out of it. So
he stayed true to his boy Big D. And that was good. And and the other thing too is, as Frenchie's outing everybody, he's outing this group to other groups who he had, to the women, right? He outed himself to the women. Oh, we had this group Slaughterhouse going on. But, dude, you also had the freaking French kisses going on with the women. So what are you doing telling them this?
Kinda. I mean,
yeah, kind of, right? So, I mean, he totally just screwed his game up.
His back was kind of against the wall there. But, he could have done that better. He could have campaigned against Brittany. And that was weird, too, because he's like, I won't campaign against her. It's going to be me going home. And if I win the veto, I'm going to save Brittany.
Right. Like, he told Brittany that. He told his team that. But the bottom line is, he had already been caught in so many lies, and nobody believed him, right?
That's the problem.
Yeah, he got caught in so many lies. He turned it, he stabbed so many people in the back already. Promised so many things that never came true. That everybody's like, yeah, even if Frenchie, when Frenchie says this, if it's true, whatever, but it's probably not true. He's probably lying like always.
He should have just gone to Kylan and said, look, my back's against the wall. I'm desperate. I'll hook you up next week or at the next opportunity.
But
you can't promise things to too many people. And it was funny because Xavier was talking to him, and he's like, you just answered your own question. So he was kind of aggressive and not really winning people over with his conversations and stuff.
So then, we go to the veto round, right? And they had this event where, they're on a beach, and they're squirting water.
Lotion,
it's water, but they call it they call it lotion. It's in different. And now Frenchie's the one that cut onto the SPF thing though, so I thought that was cool. So I thought maybe he is going to win. So
Kylan was smart in that he's like, there's a pattern here and stuff like that.
Kylan was bouncing off his chest too. Yeah. So so the object here was you got to catch enough water, and so you've got this little tube, and in the bottom of that tube's keys. You're catching water from all these lotion bottles, giant lotion bottles, squirting water at you, and you got your bucket, and you got to keep filling up the tube until you can reach your key, and whoever gets the key in the fastest time wins, right?
And I figured Derek would be good at this because he's a tennis player, so he's constantly cutting and stuff like that and moving. So I thought he would be the better one, and I saw Kylan using his chest. I was like, maybe he's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then once
Frenchie was really confident in his run too.
Well, and then and it's funny because he's the only one that pointed out the different SPF levels on the bottles, and he figured, all right, this is the highest SPF, and it's the one that's squirting out the best, which I didn't even catch. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart.
And they didn't show a whole lot of Frenchie's runs, so I don't know if he was just trying to get that high SPF
he had the second best time
or what. Yeah. I think he had the third. I think Kylan still beat him.
No, I thought Frenchie beat Kylan. Either way, it doesn't matter because Derek won. So Derek X wins again the veto round, right? So now is the mad scramble to try to get Derek to use his veto. So what you were mentioning earlier, Frenchie actually did this time, right? He pulls Derek and Kylan into the room and says, hey, guys, look, right now, everybody hates me, right? Everybody wants me on a chopping block. So by putting me on a chopping block right now, that's going to kind of screw you later because everybody's always going to hate me now. So if you just take me off the block right now, I'm still somebody who's going to be pointed at next time, right? So you're going to, as long as I'm in this house, you're going to be safe because people hate me and they want to get me on a chopping block. And they were kind of like, yeah, okay, I could see the point.
He should have gone a little harder on that, but he just screwed himself prior to
Too much,
that.
Exactly.
What did you think about Brittany doing the rapping now?
That was cool. Yeah, Brittany did a pretty good job rapping, I mean, I agree with what Xavier said. Yeah, it was cool, but she should stick to her day job, right? But it's still
that's pretty cool for her to do that on the spot. And then, and then when she was like her final send-off rap that she did that. So that was pretty cool. That's pretty brave of her to do.
Yeah, it definitely was. But, Frenchie's big issue, that play might have worked, about him being the hated person, but he was just too hated at that point. He was causing too much drama, and everybody was stressed out, right? Everybody felt like they were walking around pins and needles on that house every time he walked into a room, and you just can't live like that, So they're all like, nah, man, we got to get rid of this dude. You just can't. We can't have a good time in this house while Frenchie's around.
I tell you what was cool this week is Sarah Beth. She won that competition, and then she confided in Kylan that this was like a 1-year anniversary of her dad dying from COVID, and that really hit me. Yeah, I thought that was really cool for her to say that.
No, it was really cool.
It made me feel something for her.
Yeah, absolutely, it did, and I think it did what she was wanting it to, and it made Kylan feel something for her, right? So. Because the whole game of this is make people feel sorry for you and make them feel bad for you, right? So she definitely did that by sharing that with Kylan. And who knows if she's going to share with others later on, we'll see. But, Kylan was the head of household right there, so who better to share with right now than the dude who's the head of household? So, yeah, definitely made you feel bad for her, though, because
I don't know if she's doing it for strategy being the 1-year anniversary, unless it's like some kind of big con where she's lying. I don't think that is, but that'd be interesting if someone did that.
I don't think she was lying either, but she has lied about her profession, right? Nobody knows her real profession still.
That's true.
They all think she's a voice actress, right? So, who knows, But, so, I mean, that was a cool, feel-good little moment there. It made you feel bad for her. And nobody was even, she's like I said, everybody thinks her sweet, innocent Sarah Beth, and I have no idea she's a liar. So right now she's playing good. I think the way her game's going, she's gaming it pretty well. So, but end up getting Frenchie and Brittany on a chopping block. They all say their piece. They run around, do their scrambling, and talk people into it. Hey, take me off. And Derek and Kylan have their little chat, and they decide, what, I don't think you should use the veto, right? So, and Derek agrees. So they don't use veto.
I have decided not to use the power veto.
Veto, and we all know what's happening then. Frenchie's getting blasted, and he does, except by one person, right? And, his one buddy who right off the bat he had his connection with, and said, hey, we're boys, final two together, was like, nope.
And that was weird, too, because the week prior, we didn't see too much from Big D and him. And then this week, was a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's got to be a hard decision, right? Because they're both your teammates, But Big D, stayed true to his word to Frenchie, and he said, hey, man, Frenchie's my boy. I said final two with Frenchie, so that's what I'm going with, Even though he had to know that Frenchie was going. I mean, everybody knew Frenchie was going, but Big D still stayed true.
It was kind of like a sympathetic vote.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was, but at the same time, it still shows big loyalty from Big D, right? And Big D, really, you haven't seen any backstabbing from him. He's definitely been keeping his head low. He's just been this kind of friendly kind of guy, talking to people, and and just being a kind of cheerful, friendly guy to people, and he's kind of a shoulder for people to cry on and stuff, right? He's like, oh, it's okay, everything's gonna be good. Even a Frenchie, man, what are you doing, man? You can't be down about yourself right now. You're still in this game.
Yeah, I liked what he did this week.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Big D's a good dude. He's a good character. I like him. And as far as let's get into who we see we want to win right now. I mean, I'm kind of liking Big D now. I'm like, hey man, maybe I think Big D is right now. I don't think he's lied yet. I don't think I've caught Big D in a lie. Seen him lying to anybody yet. I mean, Sarah Beth's cool, but she lied her off the bat. About her profession. So I'm really liking Big D. Brent, I'm not feeling. I mean, last week I was like, all right, cool, Brent, but now I'm kind of not sure. Not feeling Brent.
He's very vascular. He took his shirt off. That dude's buff.
Oh, dude,
he's got veins coming out of veins.
When speaking of showmances too, that's a funny thing. Now he's kind of like into Hannah, right? So now he's like, hey, she might be the kind of girl I want to take home to mom. I don't know. It's like they're
that was a funny scene where they were like talking to each other in like this
New Jersey accent, right? Yeah. But so I mean, last week I was like, all right, cool, maybe Brent, maybe Tiffany, and now as backstabby as Tiffany is, and is just her strategy and stuff, and man, I can't go with somebody like that anymore. So Tiffany's off the board for me now. I'm looking Big D right now, man. I like Big D this week. I liked how he stayed true to Frenchie all the way through. Even though we knew Frenchie was gone. I liked how he's been there for everybody who's going through hard times. He's kind of a shoulder to cry on. He tries to prep people up when they're feeling down. So I like Big D.
Yeah, it was funny because on his exit interview, he said, normally the old man in the house is like one of the first people to go, even though he was the second person to go. So he didn't last too much longer. But he's talking about being an old man. I think he's like 34 36 or 30, something like that.
He's in his mid-30s,
that ain't too old.
No, he ain't old, man.
I guess compared to everyone else in the house, it is older.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is, the old man wouldn't have gone home, number two, had the old man not acted all nuts, this last week, I mean, had he just laid low, made some friends, and kind of
completely wrong. We said this last week that he's going to be in trouble, and of course,
he was. His age had nothing to do with why he went home, right? Nobody cared about his age.
It struck me so weird too. He was so confident all the way until he lost that veto competition.
Oh, yeah.
Going
After
into
that,
it, he's like, watch out. And I'm like, watch out, man. You got one chance to do this, and it ain't a good one.
Right. And you had 2 this week, and you lost both of them. So that was,
And you're going against some like real studs here, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
With Kylan and Derek. So it's like, I don't know what makes you so confident.
Right, exactly. Well, I don't know if Derek Studley, he's just smart, dude.
Well, I mean, he's a tennis player and stuff like that.
Well,
so,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, you're right. So he's athletic.
So yeah, he's very athletic.
Yeah, but yeah, man, Frenchie just his age had nothing to do with it. He just screwed himself, with his attitude, and people were like, all right, we've had enough of this, and he's done. So
they have another HOH competition,
and
it's one of those true or false ones, right?
Yep, true or false.
And those
questions.
are tough because they ask you questions that sometimes it's just like luck. Like, how would anyone be paying attention to know that? I mean, I know there's a lot of downtime where people do that, but this is one that anyone can win.
Yeah, exactly. And and I like the way it played out, man. I like the way the win happened because there were still 5 people when the actual winner was picked, and I was like, whoa! Like all 4 of the others guessed wrong, Xavier guessed right, and boom, Xavier's had a household. Like I wasn't expecting that.
Is false. The guy said naked, which means congratulations, Xavier. You are the new head of household.
Man, I was because that was an easy question too. It's like, hey, did one of the guys say, yeah, I just want to walk around nude? And you heard, I mean, the guy clearly said naked, right? Like as soon as it said nude, I was like, no, it's false, man. Dude said naked. Everybody else is like true. And then Xavier's like false, and sure enough, Xavier wins. They're like, no, he said naked. So Xavier, and hey, man, Xavier's a good dude. So I like the fact that.
I mean, I think that's a small difference. I think people were looking for something bigger than that.
Well, I think they were as well, but it was clearly naked and not nude. And like I caught it right off the bat, and I was surprised
they're in a
more people
high
didn't.
stress situation.
That's
They're
true.
showing this thing for a couple seconds, so it's tough.
Yeah, no, it is. That's true. That's true. And maybe they thought because naked and nude are so close that it means the same thing as maybe what they were thinking.
Jolie seemed a little confused for a second there when she was saying
right,
it. She's
right.
like, no, they said this, and it's just like, oh crap.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But it's gonna be kind of cool seeing Xavier's head of household now. I think because we haven't seen a whole lot of Xavier. I mean, from what we've seen of him, and again, he's another liar, right? He said he's a bartender.
Well, he's probably not going to nominate anyone from the cookout, you would think.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, cookout's probably clean on this. But who
do you think he will go after?
Dude, possibly Brenton Whitney. I know there's been talk about Brenton Whitney now. People, this last couple episodes, people mentioned throwing Brenton Whitney both in the chopping block.
Kylan was saying that, but I don't know.
But then Brent's like, of course, Brent's kind of smart when he was saying this. He came up to Whitney and to Christian. He's like, hey guys, we're down 2 dudes now. We need to get a couple chicks out of here, or else we're gonna be ganged up on. And we're going to be like screwed, if we don't get some chicks out of here now. So Brent's like, hey, we need to get 2 chicks out of here.
I mean, normally at some point, either females especially like to stick together. So
right, exactly. Brent knows that, and he's like, hey, we got to get a couple females out of this game, right? And of course, so Whitney and Christian are like, yeah. And then of course it flips to Christian right after talking. He's like, yeah, I'm telling Brent, yeah, but he's like, nah, man, I'm going after you and Whitney. You're getting you guys out of here.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for them. And the fact that he's snuggling up with Hannah, that could be bad for him too, because people see that and be like, those 2 are forming a close bond. It's going to be hard to break that, so we need to get rid of them because they're like a pair now.
Exactly, yeah. I'm guessing we're going to see at least, if it's not Brent and Whitney, at least one of them are going to be on the chopping block. Aside from that, I honestly don't know.
Which is a shame because I like both of them.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't seen too much from Whitney besides her accusing Frenchie of outing her or whatever.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think we're going to see, if not both of them, definitely one of them. And if it's not both of them, I honestly don't know who the second one would be. Because like I totally didn't see Brittany coming, right? So I was like, wow. I mean,
who would you like to see get out at this point?
Maybe
Tiffany, even though it's not happening.
Yeah, I'd like to see Tiffany get out for sure. Honestly, maybe even Derek X, man. There's something about that guy. Yeah, the way he's been playing, he's.
I think he's kept his composure during the Frenchie.
Yeah, he did.
Like Frenchie was coming after him pretty hard initially, and he kept an open mind. I thought.
Right, he did, but I think he's won both veto things in a row, so people are like, all right, man, that's somebody. Look, this guy's good at winning stuff, so maybe we got to get rid of this guy, So I think he might be, on that list of people to get rid of because he's been winning.
We haven't, I don't think, seen an endurance competition yet, and they normally have those, and I bet he's going to be a beast on that as well.
Yeah, probably so, especially being a tennis player, no doubt about it. So yeah, man, that's. But yeah, I mean, so like I said, Brent and Whitney, I think one or both, and then potentially, I think Derek, man, I think Derek's going to be a target. I do.
All right, well, that does it for this week's episode. Let us know in the comments if you feel strong or different about anyone or what your thoughts are, and like and subscribe.
All right, guys, we'll check you in the next review.
See you guys.